I'd like to welcome everybody to the May meeting of the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Commission. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. As always, our first item is the prayer and pledge of allegiance, and Eddie Miller is going to lead us in that. Eddie?
Thank you. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for all the many blessings that you've given us. Help us to help others that are less fortunate than we are. We pray that we make good decisions today and help there be peace on earth. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Eddie. Everyone should have received their packet from our earlier in the week, and contained in that packet were the minutes from our April meeting. At this time, we'll entertain any changes or corrections that need to be made to the minutes, and if there are none, a motion for approval.
I move approval.
Thanks, Gloria.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Mitzi, thank you. We'll move down to new business. The first item under new business is the discussion of the Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center. Lanny, it's all yours.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, want to preface this as we start that this is kind of the beginning of a discussion. We're looking to just put this out to the Commission today. We're not looking for any action on this item, but just to open up the dialogue. Recently, the city had been approached by the Bradley Academy Historic Association, which operates the Bradley Academy, and they're looking at a future partnership with Parks and Recreation on the operations and other things, preservation and future of the facility. Just let me tell you a couple of things about it. This facility is city owned. The Bradley Historic Association entered into a lease agreement with the city July the 1st, 1996. It was for 20 years. That lease agreement will end June the 30th, 2016. So we've started that dialogue. This is a very historic site. Bradley Academy, and I've put this in your packet, was the first school established in Rutherford County and began in a small log cabin. James K. Polk, who later became the 11th President of the United States, delivered the commencement address at his graduation from Bradley Academy in 1814. In the late 1820s and the early 1830s, a brick building was built hosting classes from Union University and later serving as a hospital during the smallpox epidemic in 1836, and again during the Battle of Stones River in 1862. The current building was built in 1917, 1918, and served as a school for African American children for many years. And of course, like I said, the Board of Directors has expressed an interest in partnering with the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department and the city in the preservation, operation, and future of the Bradley Academy. City staff, Mr. Crumley and myself, have met with the Board of Directors. We've met with the Executive Board, and we've discussed the potential operations and opportunities, and we're looking at putting together an MOU that would further define those responsibilities. And with that, I'm going to yield to Mr. Crumley, let him add some comment relative to this.
The discussion with Bradley Historical Association actually began when the city became aware of some physical needs of the building. Some 6 to 8 months ago, we asked Lyle Lynch at Johnson & Bailey to do an evaluation of the structure. There have really been no significant improvements to that building since it was the city's 200th bicentennial project in 1996. What Lyle found was that the roof is in need of replacement. The front entrance is weathered to the point that it is no longer serviceable. It needs to have some additional work to protect that front entrance from the elements. There were other more minor maintenance things, tightening up windows, minor electrical issues, and other things. To jump ahead just a little bit, a contract with a local construction company to do those improvements is on their agenda for tomorrow night, $112,500 that will be funded out of the Community Development Program. But while we were at the building and discussing the bicentennial project, discussing the 20-year lease that the Historical Association has with the building, and discussing the fact that the 100th birthday of the building is coming up in 2018, the conversation turned to how can we better utilize the building? How can we tell the story that Bradley has to offer in a more deliberate way? And so the conversation began with that. We sat down, as Lanny said, with both the full board and their executive committee. We've had a discussion preliminarily with city schools if they have interest in utilizing Bradley in some capacity for field trips. They have an interesting idea about a leadership development institute. All of those things are kind of in a state of discussion at this point. There are no hard and fast items yet that are able to be pinpointed. One thing is becoming clear from our budget is we asked Lanny to prepare a range of proposals for what if the city was asked to assist the Historical Association in the operations of Bradley Academy. We asked him to prepare one on the very low end and one as if it was a city facility, no different really than Cannonsburg. And so the range on those proposals ran from roughly $50,000 to almost $150,000. As we've gone into our budget process, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for us to fund a full-time position at Bradley. So we're probably looking, if council agrees, if Bradley Historical Association agrees, somewhere in the $75,000 to $100,000 range for some additional staff support, for some additional expertise in terms of managing the museum, and this ongoing discussion with city schools about their role potentially in a partnership with the Historical Association on the operations of the building. Be glad to try to answer any questions. Things are still kind of in a state of flux. We have the first proposal from the Historical Association. We have yet to sit down, Lanny and I, to review it and get any comments together to return to them. The first conversation with schools was last Friday morning at breakfast. So Lanny and I have yet to be with city schools to discuss how they would participate through their field trips, through this idea that they have about a leadership institute. So there's many more discussions to take place before anything would come back to this body or to the city council for their approval.
Thanks, Jim.
I would like to add also, I was privileged to attend that initial meeting regarding that discussion, and I'm very encouraged by the positive dialogue, and I feel that it's a very necessary direction in which we should move because it really does establish the vitality long-term for a facility of that nature, as well as the intellectual vitality and historical vitality to this entire community.
As Lanny and I explained to the Bradley board at our first meeting, I'm still a relative newcomer to the community, but I am a history buff. And in the background information that I have dug up on Bradley and on the role that it has played for the last 100 years in the community, there's a terrific story there to be told. The exhibits in Bradley should be a destination trip for every elementary school child in Rutherford County. It's just part of the background that they need to go forward with. Somehow, in partnership with the Historical Association, I think Recreation can take a role in furthering telling that story. Likewise, I'm interested to sit down again with city schools and see if they have an idea about a role that they can play in further telling the story.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Jim or Lanny?
Dee, I've got a question. The Historical Association, they don't have the funds to make these renovations, do they?
They're not, in fact, their lease, Mr. Miller, was never designed for them to do the physical maintenance of the building itself. When you look at that $112,000 bid that council will consider tomorrow, about $70,000 of that's the roof.
Right.
The door on the front of the building is custom. Every bit of it is a custom build. That door assembly and the front door is $15,000 to $20,000 of that bid. The lease never really anticipated major maintenance being done by the Historical Association. The daily operation, upkeep, and maintenance was part of that lease, but the major components were not.
That's what I wanted to make sure that really the city's responsibility to keep the major renovations done.
It is
even
the
with
city's
current
building.
lease.
Yeah, the building is owned by the city with the lease to the Historical Association for its operation as a museum.
Good question. Any other questions or comments?
Just one other comment, if I could. Looking really kind of at the big picture, this is a very historic, very significant property within the city. It needs to be preserved. The long-term viability of that and the story that can be told at that facility, the role that it played in the development of Murfreesboro, it needs to be on that tour when folks come in for tourism to see the National Battlefield, the Oaklands, the other areas. It needs to be a must-see location. And so looking at it in that regard, that's one of the reasons that Jim and I felt that it was very important that we sit down and start this dialogue. We wanted to bring it to the commission because we think there's going to be a future role for the commission. We want to bring that out and just really kind of start the whole dialogue on this.
And it really is an important piece of the entire history of our community, particularly after the original structure of Holloway High School was demolished. It's the only facility that documents the history of the African American education process for generations prior to Bradley Elementary on Mercury.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, Eddie?
I will say that I have gone and met with the board and talked to them about my concerns that I have with the building and the structure and all the responsibilities that the city carries with this particular building. The plus to it is the historical significance of it. The downside of it right now is it is in bad need of some restoration, and it's going to be expensive, and we know that, but that's the city's responsibility in the contract that we currently have. I do think that at some point we have to really address the issue of parking at that facility, whether it be a main gate entrance that comes off of Broad Street and makes it a more viable tourist destination, or we have to figure out some way to provide parking, because currently even the rooms and stuff that we're using for meeting rooms, and there's just no parking. Every time I go to a meeting there, you wind up having to park somewhere other than the destination that you're going to. And so if the opportunity does arise and presents itself for us to acquire a little more land adjacent to the building, I think it would be prudent of the city to pursue that and make sure that we don't miss any opportunity to to make the building more usable, not just for the museum part of it, but for the daily function of what the building's actually going to currently do in order to justify its being sustained. So, but it's a great facility. I think it certainly is one of the gems in our city as far as as destination and historical significance is second to none. And but we do need to make sure that we use it. Continue to use the building because the history of it is great, but the future of it could be just as strong.
We've recognized the fact that the current parking will not support the capacity of the meeting space in the building now. We don't have any great ideas at this point in time of how to quickly solve that. But the problem has been recognized, and it is a detriment to the building. As Lanny will tell you, a lot of the meetings that were conducted at Bradley have moved to Patterson simply for the convenience of parking and the other amenities that are at Patterson. So the parking is clearly an issue.
Good point. Any others? Jim, thanks for the update. Lanny, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item under new business is a consideration of the McKnight Park site upgrades, the second phase. Lanny, back to you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we are proposing to continue our upgrades. This follows our recently adopted master plan for McKnight Park. And if I want to draw your attention to the drawing, which is the last page in your exhibit, you can see the areas. Of course, all of these parking areas is 28 plus years old. They're in really bad need of repair. So if you look, what you see is the areas that we're proposing to overlay with new asphalt, putting in new lighting in the parking lot, upgrading the landscaping, and adding some additional parking on the pool side of Sportscom as well. One of the other things we've looked at is the alignment of the streets and roads that come in. If you're aware of Sportscom, when you're coming in, if you're going to the parking lot that's next to the pool, there's a one-way in, one-way out. That's always been confusing to customers. We're going to straighten that out in this renovation. And we're going to provide some additional marked parking in the front of Sportscom. Customers have been doing that. It's caused some traffic issues. There's some issues with fire lane obstruction. We're addressing all of that as well in this proposal. So we're working with SEC, Mr. Mark Lee, who is here today. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have about the development. We're estimating this somewhere in the range of about $700,000 for cost. We do have that money in our CIP program, and that would be covered. The cost of the A&E will be $66,750 plus any outside expenses, and that would go to the hourly rate that is listed. So our recommendation is that we approve the A&E and recommend that the council approve it as well.
Thanks, Lanny. Anybody have any questions for Lanny regarding this phase of the project? If there are no questions, we need a motion for approval as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Eddie.
A second.
And a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Thanks, Lanny.
Thank you.
We discussed this our last meeting and asked for a little additional information, and they're bringing this today. It's information regarding the carrying or possession of weapons in public recreational areas, and Angela and Kelly are going to handle that for us today.
Okay, yes, y'all asked for an update on the status of the legislation at your next meeting. They have passed a bill that now allows handguns in certain portions of park areas, and that was passed and signed by the governor on April the 24th. It's Public Chapter 250. A couple of things that are important to understand about this. I've provided you with a memo summarizing it and also a tracked version of the actual statute with the new language that has been added by the legislature to the statute, so it's easier to see it in one complete package rather than just looking at the public chapter. First, what this amendment did is it now allows individuals to bring their handguns to certain park areas, and specifically that is public parks, natural areas, historic parks, natural trails, campgrounds, forest, greenway, waterway, or other similar public places. So you will see there when they created that new exception in the statute, it appears to be designed to cover the outdoor areas of parks. And it is restricted to only handguns by individuals that have a valid handgun carry permit. Now, they did not change in any way the prohibition that's set forth at the beginning of the statute. It still states that it is an offense, a Class A misdemeanor, for any person to possess or carry, whether openly or concealed, with the intent to go armed, any weapon prohibited by 3917-1302 that's not being used for instructional, display, or sanctioned ceremonial purposes in or on the grounds of any public park, playground, civic center, or building facility, area or property owned, used, or operated by any municipal, county, or state government. So that's still a prohibition that you cannot bring weapons into the park. There's the exceptions, and there is an exception now for handguns, but only in those areas I mentioned, those open outdoor areas that I mentioned earlier. And weapons, for the public to understand, weapons would include firearms, of course, and explosive or any an explosive weapon, a device designed or made or adapted for delivering or shooting an explosive weapon, a machine gun, a short barrel rifle or shotgun, a firearm silencer, a hoax device, knuckles, or any other implement for infliction of serious bodily injury or death that has no common lawful purpose. So that's the way they define weapons. And I think some people are confused because they hear the law being cited as the Guns in Parks law. It's really only the handguns in open areas of parks and by people with a valid carry permit. Now, the one other part of the new revisions to the statute that the legislature included was that handguns are prohibited in the immediate vicinity of any park property that is being utilized by a school for either an athletic or other school-related activity. And school encompasses not just elementary, middle, and high school. It also encompasses colleges, universities, or any other educational institution. So anytime we have a field trip going on at a pavilion or in an area of a park, if an individual becomes aware that that field trip is going on, they are to immediately leave the area with their handgun, and they could go place it back in their vehicle. That's what's put in the law, is that once they have knowledge or reasonably should have known that a school group was using the park facility, that they should leave the area, or they must leave the area. And what that brings us to as part of the discussion is in light of this change to the law, we need to amend some of our signage to, still make sure people understand weapons are not prohibited, are prohibited. Handguns are allowed, but they're not allowed in the immediate vicinity of a school using the park. Yes.
Ms. Baker, can I ask one question real quick, because you just used that term, immediate vicinity? What is our legal definition, or what do you mean by that term?
That was one of their big debates, and that's as narrow. Initially, they said when a school's using the park and didn't even narrow it to immediate vicinity. That they did not define that term. I would think that it's within eyesight of the, if you're walking up and say they're using the baseball fields, I would consider, and you walk up into that baseball field area at Starplex, I would consider that immediate vicinity. But that was part of the debate, that they wanted to at least narrow it down to immediate vicinity. It wouldn't necessarily, if, let's say, the field trip's going on up at the wilderness station, but the person has their handgun down at one of the pavilions at the front of Barfield, that wouldn't probably meet the definition of immediate vicinity. Okay. And that's one of those areas where staff and our park patrol will have to use some discretion to determine when the person is in the immediate vicinity. Now, what I was also going to say was some of the school systems I've noticed on the school attorney listservs that I belong to are starting to order sandwich board portable signs that they can take with them on field trips to set out to say, your own notice that a school is utilizing this pavilion or this area for a field trip. And that's part of what I believe we're going to look into for Parks and Rec, is to have some of those signs that we can put out when it is a school activity that is utilizing the park property, so the patrons can be on notice and understand, so they don't get in a situation where they could be in violation of the state law. Do y'all have any other questions?
Angela, you got something?
I just wanted to add, Kelly has done a lot of work on this project, and I really appreciate all the research that she's done as she helps us to understand it so that we are compliant. The work that we'll be putting forth now into changing out our signage that's existing, into training our staff and understanding what the expectations and roles are, and sharing that with the community is going to be a transitional process for us, and we're working hard to do that. And Ms. Baker's research has been very helpful to us.
Right.
I did have one thing I want to make sure that's clear, is when they amended this statute, they did not change the exception to allow handguns inside of park buildings or community centers. So from the way that they amended it, it does not appear that handguns are going to be allowed inside, say, Patterson Park or Sportscom or McFadden. So it's only covering those open park areas, the outside areas.
Now, would this include all TSSA events like Spring Fling, Clinic Bowl, anything? Is that considered a school outing?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. It will include all of those school-related events that are associated with a school or university or college that's using
even when school is out, say in the summer, and say when in the summertime when school is out, is that still considered a school event, even though school is not in session?
If it's an event that's being attended by school teams under the TSSA,
Right.
it would encompass those.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't reach our little leagues
Right.
and those type of competitive athletic events, but it does reach anything involving school organizations.
So you're saying it's okay for Little League Association?
And
you can to a Little League game you can carry.
they did not include the non-school related
None. Okay.
children's athletic events.
Okay. All righty. I know it
It's good
seemed like
information, Kelly.
seemed like with some of those parents, it seemed like they would. But that's they already made the law, so.
Are there any other questions for Kelly regarding this matter?
Are we planning to partner with Rutherford County Schools and Murfreesboro City Schools and the homeschool community in terms of in-service training for teachers as they need to better understand the policies and restrictions
Actually, I am presenting the same information to the Murfreesboro City School Board next week, next Tuesday. I will be glad to forward this to Angel McLeod, the attorney for the Rutherford County School System, so that she can share it with her staff. And I've seen on the attorney listserv that lots of school systems, they've all been paying close attention to this law, and they've already started, trying to take steps to make sure that the public knows when their schools are using park facilities, because our parks are utilized, by more than just city and county schools here in Rutherford County. They're used by Cannon County, Williamson County. They come from all over. So this impacts even those field trips to places like the Oaklands. That would be covered under this.
Well, it's good
Thank you.
information. Any other questions for Kelly or Angela?
Dee, I will make one brief comment, and certainly I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. When I'm all for people being allowed to carry their handgun if they feel the need. But I think the legislature probably presented us with a bill that I will call a weak bill at best, because of some of the definitions, immediate vicinity, not making clarification on whether or not it included the ambiguity of the buildings and stuff. That there was some weakness within their bill, but I think their intentions were right. I hope that they didn't pass this just in order to make the NRA happy during the recent visit to Nashville. But if their intentions were correct, and I think they're going in the right direction with this and trying to clean up some of the things that had possibly been manipulated by municipalities in the past. And so I think they made a move in the right direction. The pendulum may have swung a little bit too far as competitive feels, in my opinion. But the bill is what the bill is, and the governor has signed it, so it's law now. The reality of it is I don't think you'll notice any change at all on your greenway systems or in your parks, because those people who have been properly trained to carry handguns understand the importance of concealment, and so therefore you're not going to see any difference. Truth is, I would assume that some were probably carrying already in isolated areas. So I don't think you'll see any significant change at all, and I really hope you don't. But I think that the process did work, and I'm glad to see that they've accomplished part of what they set out to do anyway. So,
Thanks, Eddie. If there are no other questions or comments, Kelly, Angela, thanks for your work on this. Appreciate it. We'll move now. Bart Feitz joined us and is going to give us an update on the project at SportsCom. Bart, welcome.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I'm here today hopefully to give you the SportsCom last update. I've been before the commission the last 2 or 3 months telling you about the progress we're making out there, and a lot of work has been going on. If you've been by lately, you can tell there's a lot of movement, a lot of scurrying around. So hopefully we'll be able to open the facility here, and I'll give you some dates here in just a few minutes. But I know Mr. Goodwin and myself were out this morning doing a walk around. You hear the old saying, the light at the end of the tunnel. I can see the light, and I'm very relieved, and I know our public's going to be relieved. So we've had untold calls about when we're going to be reopened, when's the pool going to be open. So hopefully today I'll give you some information on that. First, I just want to show you a little progress we have. We have about 12 slides we want to show you. The first one up there that's our new entrance to the SportsCom, which is on the Memorial Boulevard side. They've poured a new concrete pad, a new walkway up to the doors there. It's going to be a big help. Next, there's our new weight room on the Memorial side, where you show our windows and our equipment entrance right there. There's the front of our new weight room as it's taking shape with the sidewalk on the other side. It was poured the other day. And those windows right there are new windows that, when your passports come or you drive up in the parking lot, you can look in there and people will be on treadmills watching TV and exercising. There's our main entrance to the building right there on the side of the weight room that's coming in. And if you pass by, you can see the red awnings on the front of the building, which is really going to entice the entrance to our facility. There is the inside of our new weight room, and there's our new floor that has been put down. Our plans are tomorrow to move all our equipment back in the weight room facility, where we can start getting all the other parts of the facility ready to be open. Here's our new lobby area, which really the front desk area now takes up a lot of the room of the old lobby, but that's going to be a real plus for us. Is when you come in the two entrances, we'll have people on both sides of the desk that can greet you, check you in, take reservations, do all the necessary things that we need to do to conduct business there at the SportsCom. There's from the other side view, and it's really attractive front desk too, and it's going to be very helpful. Here's our new party room, and that's a new addition that we've added to the facility. It's going to be very popular. That's right off to the pool. We do have a door going in the indoor pool and also to the gym, and we will be able to rent that out for private parties. And when somebody does have the pool rental, we'll move they in there for their cake or food or whatever, where we used to have it out on the pool deck. But this way we can put it in one local location, and it'd be easy for cleanup for our custodians. And that's a real plus to our facility, the new party room. There's our new concession area, which we've about doubled our concession area for all our supplies. I know Tommy Gregory and his staff's done a great job with our concession stand, and we're getting ready to get that open here in a couple of weeks. Here's our gymnasium, and if when you walk in there, you won't believe the difference. It looks like a brand new facility. They've redone the floor. We've got new padding. It's been painted, the ceiling. And it just looks like a brand new gym, and the lighting has been replaced, so the new ductwork's been put in, but it's very, very nice, and we're excited to get that open. Here's our weight room. They're finishing up putting the subflooring down and then the flooring, and we've got two aerobic rooms upstairs where we'll be able to have our aerobic classes, where we won't be interfering with the meeting room, where we have our meetings and rentals. So there's our other weight room's got partial floor down, so those are going to be very good upstairs, right off the new track, which has been resurfaced, and we're very excited about. There's the view of the gym from upstairs on the track, and like I said, it's going to be a very, very beautiful facility once we get finished. And that's really all the slides I have. I would like to mention a few things. We do have some big events coming up. On May the 16th, which is a week from Saturday, we'll have the Family Fun Fest in the gym, and we're also having the Duck Derby outside at the outdoor pool. I know they're working on the outdoor pool now. We're working to get the inside of the building ready to go. After talking to Mr. Goodman today, we've got an inspection tomorrow to walk through to make sure everything's clear and ready to go. But it looks like we will be opening to the general public on Monday, May the 18th. We'll have a grand reopening at 10 a.m., and I'm sure we'll be sending out invitations. And it's so hard to nail down a certain date because we've got to make sure we go through the city codes, make sure everything is squared away there to open to the public. So I'm sure you'll be getting your invitations, but for the general public, reopening will be May the 18th at 10 o'clock. We are going to open the facility that morning at 6 a.m., regular hours, though, but we'll have a ribbon cutting at 10 a.m., have some refreshments, some gifts, some things to give out, and then welcome the public back. And I want to thank Tom Sage and Patterson Park. They've been very helpful taking our customers that were coming to SportsCom, receiving them over at Patterson, but now we want to tell Tom we want them back. So we're looking forward to have them coming back on May the 18th, and I appreciate your support. It's going to be a beautiful facility, and hearing the upgrades to McKnight Park, it's really going to upgrade that whole part of town for us. So we really appreciate it. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
That's exciting, Bart.
Yes, Bart, SportsCom did do a great job on even your employees that was at Sportscom coming over Patterson, that transition was very smooth. And I do commend the Patterson people also. A question on your party room. Say, for instance, if someone still wanted to have the celebration of the cake outside, will they have an option, or do they have to use the party room?
What we've done, when we didn't have the party room, if they had a pool party inside, we had a table set up where they could set their cake on it. One difference we do have that's going to be beneficial, if they wanted to have it right there, it's right beside the pool anyway. They could put a table out there beside. We've got a new flooring there, which we did have carpet, which was very hard to clean when you spill cake and cokes and everything. But now it's a straight surface, just like our track, where they can be mopped up. So if they would want to have it out there, I wouldn't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah, I wasn't being critical. I went
Oh,
to
yeah.
one, and when you said the mess to clean up, it was kind of messy. Yeah.
Soggy cake.
Yeah.
All right. That's exciting. Looks great. Are there any other questions for Bart? Thanks for being with us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the update.
Thank you.
Brings us to our final item under new business. As always, Becky is here, going to give us an update on all of the upcoming events.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. First, we have this Friday, which is May 8th, we have our Barfield Beach Party, and that starts at 5 p.m. at Barfield Crescent Park. It's free. It's for all ages. They have over 60 tons of sand that they use to top dress our athletic fields, and they put that at Barfield. We have our little beach party, and then they start taking it away the next day for its other intended purpose. But it's a great time. We'll have a DJ, contests, all kinds of games. So join us this Friday, May 8th at 5 p.m. at Barfield Crescent Park. Then on Saturday, May 9th, we have free swim lesson day. It's part of our mission to attempt to drown-proof Murfreesboro, and that is for ages 5 to 13. All ages can come and participate in the festivities, but for ages 5 to 13, they have free swim lessons, just little mini snippets so that you can come and see what swim lessons are about, or to try to make sure that if you sign up for swim lessons, you're in the correct class. But it is free to attend. We do ask that if you want to partake in the swim lessons, that you pre-register. And up on the screen is information. It's Carrie Clemens, and her email is just simply aquatics@murfreesborotn.gov if you want to register for the free swim lessons. And that starts at 8 a.m. at Patterson Park. Then we have our third Friday night concert series at Cannonsburg is continuing, and that is Friday, May 15th. We have the band Uptown Country, and that is from 7 to 9 p.m. and is free at Cannonsburg Village. Then, as Bart mentioned earlier, we have Rutherford Parents Family Fun Festival, and that is Saturday, May 16th. It is from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll have local vendors, giveaways, inflatables, performances, and more. And then they will also have the Duck Derby. They will have their duck race out at the outdoor pool at 3 p.m., and that benefits the Child Advocacy Center. And that's one way to kind of come out and get a sneak peek of the new facility before it opens on Monday. So join us Saturday, May 16th for the Rutherford Parents Family Fun Festival weekend. Then, World Turtle Day is Saturday, May 23rd from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Wilderness Station. It is free, and they will have Turtle Tracks ice cream, turtle-themed activities, and events going on. Then Burrow Beach will be opening. Our outdoor pool will be open on Saturday, May 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then we will also celebrate on Memorial Day with Memorial Day Madness, and that's Monday, May 25th from 10 to 4:30 as well. They put out DJs and they have a DJ and some festivities going on just to kind of amp up the pool area. And then, believe it or not, June, summer is around the corner. Our Movies Under the Stars begins June 1st. We have 8 weeks where we will show a certain movie. The movie shows for the entire week. On Mondays, it's at Cason Lane Trailhead. Tuesdays at Cannonsburg Village. Thursdays at Richard Siegel Neighborhood Park, Fridays at Mitchell Nielsen Primary, and Saturdays at Hobgood Elementary. The movies begin at 8:30 p.m. and they are free to attend. Also coming back this summer is our splash outs, and that is Thursdays. We have one June 11th at Siegel Neighborhood Park, June 25th at Barfield Crescent Park, and July 16th at Old Fort Park. Splash out is from 1:30 to 3 p.m. We kind of take over a portion of the parking lot, and the Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue Department comes out with a fire truck, and we spray a hose, and the kids all run around and get wet and have a great time. Then on Saturday, June 13th, at 10 a.m. at Old Fort Park next to Kids Castle is our small fry try, which is our triathlon for preschoolers. And that you may register the day of, starting at 9:30, and they do start races at 10 a.m., and they just keep running heats until about 11, until all the kids have gone. They all start out, they run a small portion, then they get on their bikes, their tricycles, whatever they have with wheels. We ask that they bring their helmets, and then they bike, and then they run through a sprinkler, which is the water portion, and then they go through a ribbon, and every participant gets a trophy. And that is Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. at Old Fort Park. And for information on all these events and all of our other programs that are ongoing, you can contact our main office at 615-890-5333, our website at murfreesborotn.gov/parks. You may download our Rec Connection from our website, and you can also follow any of our Facebook pages. Any questions?
All right. Any questions of Becky? Lots of stuff, as always.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Becky. That concludes new business. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If there is none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.